Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to another episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's Sunday night, which of course means that it is match day review show time, and continuing the theme of the shorter review shows with just myself, Reese unavoidably is not available again this week, sadly. He's still feeling a bit under the weather. Another cold, such as the cold weather over in Germany. Either that or he just cannot be bothered. As we stretched our winless run to 11 games, Reese, I know you'd be here if you could. But despite the 0-0 draw with playoff chasing Crewe Alexandra, it felt like it was the second good performance in a matter of days against sides at the top end of the table from John Coleman's men. We'll go back to 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon like we always do and look at the team news. And there was one solitary change. Unfortunately, Joe Bode, who seemed to do something to his groin in the first half against league leaders Walsall on Tuesday, he wasn't fit enough to start or even take his place on the bench. So he was replaced by Chelsea loanee Jimmy J Morgan, and Nelson Kambeni returned to the squad to take his place on the bench. So that 11 in full for the Gills was Glenn Morris in goal, a back three of Andy Smith, Max Ema and Sam Gale. Wing backs were Romeo Hutton and Max Clark. The middle of the park, it was Robbie McKenzie and Captain Armani Little, and then it was Dom Corness in between the lines, and a front two I've already mentioned, Jay Morgan and Elliot Nevitt against his former club. First half I thought was an even game. It felt even, it looked even, everything about it was even. There's a couple of half chances I think for either side. We'd had a couple of snapshots, hadn't we, early on that didn't really trouble anyone other than the steward near the corner flag, unfortunately. There was balls flung into each box, but like I say, there was a couple of good bits from each side. We started the better, didn't we? And then Crewe grew into the game. In terms of the way of chances for us, there was a bit of a melee in the box. I think Max Ema swung a leg at a ball which broke to Jimmy J Morgan, sort of left-hand side of the area. First time effort was palmed away superbly well by Philippe Marchal in the Crewe goal. And then shortly after, there was a cleverly worked short corner from Romeo Hutton, which was pulled back to the edge of the D, and Armani Little unfortunately just got underneath it a little bit and it went over the bar and into an empty Brian Moore stand. At the other end, Alex were a threat through Shiloh Tracy. We know him from the game at Gresty Road back in October when he scored both goals. He did well to beat a couple of players and get himself into the box. Glenn Morris, though, did really well to come out and smother it before the shot got away properly. And fortunately, from our point of view, Holacek managed to steer the rebound over and into the Rainham end. Other than that, the only chance for Crewe came by the way of a poor pass out from Glenn Morris. But luckily, again, from our point of view, our visitors were unable to take advantage. And yeah, like I said, it looked even, it felt even, everything about it was even, and the stats back that up, that first 45 minutes. If you look at shots on target, it was 1 each. In terms of total shots, it was 7 each. I think there was one big chance each. You're probably saying the Jimmy J Morgan one for us and the Holacek opportunity for the Railway men. And yeah, each keeper made one save. So at half time, I don't think either manager would have been too disappointed. They'd have probably both said that there's a game there to be won if you go and take it by the scruff of the neck and be a bit braver. I thought we could just move the ball a little bit quicker. And second half, I thought we were absolutely superb to a man. We came out on the front foot, shooting towards the Rainham end. And a word towards the fans today, thought that we were absolutely brilliant. We know what happened during the last home game between our former captain, Max Ema, and the Rainham end. There was a little bit of a set to and an exchange of opinions, we'll call it. But I think everybody after last Monday's ME7 live space, which had owner Brad Gallinson and managing director Joe Comper on it, has come to the conclusion that we just need to almost wipe the slate clean and get behind these boys for the remaining games, because they do need us, because we are still in a little bit of trouble. But I think we've seen plenty in these last 2 minutes, the last 180 minutes of football, to suggest that we are finally starting to turn a corner, albeit not with wins yet, deserved or otherwise. But yeah, second half, I thought we bossed it all over the park. Even before the changes, even before the red card of Ryan Cooney, which was well deserved. First chance of the second period came. Dom Corness's corner was swung in. I think it's a combination of Andy Smith and it might have been Sam Gale again who jumped. Smith definitely makes the contact and the ball, for all the world, looks like it's going to loop into the far corner. Their defender on the line does his job, to be fair, and sort of manages to get up and head it against the bar and out for another set play. And that was chance number one. shortly after, there's another really good set play, isn't there? This time it's Armani Little, the captain, and I thought set play delivery was generally on the money throughout the 90 minutes on Saturday afternoon, which is something I've not said enough of in recent months. Too often we overhit it out of play, or we don't beat the first man, but I thought 90% of it was absolutely on point on Saturday afternoon, so that's another step in the right direction. This time it's Little's delivery, it's met by Sam Gale. He does absolutely everything right. He gets away from his marker, he heads it into the ground. Martial makes a really big stop with his legs to keep it at 0-0. Gills weren't deterred though, were they? It's not like we just went back into our shell, which we've done on plenty of occasions, and reverted to type and started going backwards and square and felt sorry for ourselves. We just kept going, and it just felt like a training exercise at points. Like I say, even before the dismissal of their right back Cooney, there was a long throw, wasn't there? Flicked on by, I think it was Smith again, who was causing havoc in the Crewe box. Sam Gale again's in the right place, a little flick header towards the far post, goes up, looks like it's gone over Martial, but to be fair to their keeper, he does well, and it's a combination of either his hand and the crossbar, or the upright, that stopped Gale from scoring his first goal for the club and putting us in front. And then came them changes, didn't they? And I don't think you can accuse John Coleman of being anything but brave. We took off both wing-backs who were defenders, Romeo Hutton and Max Clark. We took off Jimmy J Morgan, who I thought was better second period, but just looked a little bit lightweight for the type of game that it was. And we also took off Dom Corness, who had tired again and wasn't having as much influence on the game. They were replaced by Jaden Clark and Jack Nolan, two very attacking players put into wide areas because there was no change of shape. Bradley Dack come on for Corness, straight swap in that little gap in between the midfielders and the front men. And obviously Ollie Hawkins was a straight swap for Jimmy J Morgan and went and played up front with Elliot Nevitt, who again run himself to a pretty much a standstill. This is ironically though where probably Crewe had their best spell of the second period. It was only for about 5, 6, 7 minutes, but we looked like we just took a little period of time to adjust to the changes, and that's where Crewe not really threatened us, because I don't remember Glenn Morris having to be extended to make a proper save in the whole game, let alone the second period. But once we came through that, we were soon back on top and back on the front foot, weren't we? There's a penalty shout. Ball comes into Ollie Hawkins' chest. He does well to get in front of his man. Just literally turns his body as the ball comes into him. Dackie's into the box. It's the wrong side of the defender, gets bundled over. Referee says no. Answers on a postcode. What did you think? Yes, no, maybe. Postcard, even. And then the red. And again, it's Dackie and Hawkins linking up, little 1-2. Dackie tries to get the return ball. Cooney just runs across him. It's a stonewall yellow. And with that, it's a stonewall red card. And we're thinking, great, we've got 15 minutes plus injury time to play with an extra man. Can we make it count in front of the Raynham end? Like I said, the crowd were doing all they can to suck it in. They were doing all they can to back the boys and try and get them over the line. It just felt like a much better afternoon as a player and a supporter of the football club. Albeit we didn't quite get over the line as we would have wished. There's the disallowed goal, isn't there? Ball gets played in by Little. Ollie Hawkins wins the first contact yet again. But it goes up, comes down with snow on. Dackie, for me, does nothing wrong. He gets himself in between the defender and the goalkeeper and stands his ground. Does no more than that. The keeper, Martial, tries to jump over Dackie to either punch or claim the cross and catch it, but he doesn't. He sort of falls over his man and punches it against a combination of Bradley or their defender, and it rolls sympathetically over the line. And you think, finally, we've had a bit of luck. Only then to see the man in the middle blowing his whistle and pointing towards the far end, indicating a free kick for our visitors. Harsh, potentially. Do you get any good luck when you're down the bottom? Not really. And any that you do seems to be bad. But again, we still carried on. We still took the game by the scruff of the neck and decided that we weren't going to let these things get in the way of us at least giving absolutely everything to get ourselves over the line and claim the 3 points. Ollie Hawkins had one over, didn't he? From a good ball in from Jack Nolan. Dackie had a header that he'd sort of glanced towards the far post, albeit I think he might have been offside. So that was another substitute. This is, like I'm saying, this is the last 20 minutes of the game, and I'm mentioning Dack, Nolan, Hawkins, all having a positive impact off the bench. Jaden Clark was bright the other side. Then there's the big chance at the end, isn't there? It's another goalmouth scramble. It's a good delivery again. Bradley Dack has a swing at it. doesn't make the desired contact but manages to stab it goalwards. Robbie McKenzie flings a leg at it, and then it looks for all the world that Max Emer's just going to smash it in from about 5 yards in front of the Raynham end, and we're going to go home happy. At first I just thought he didn't get enough contact with his left foot. And then you see everybody in a blue shirt sort of run round the referee claiming a penalty. And I was recording it at the time, and I've looked back, it's a stonewall for me. I think the bloke just grabs Max Emer by the shirt and pulls him down as he's about to make contact. Before that, we'd had another chance for Bradley Dack, hadn't we? Ball into the box, and he just set himself to swing his left foot at it and allowed the defender to come in and pinch it. If that's Bradley Dack fit and firing and playing all the time, I think he scores. But the positives are that he was continually getting in good areas. Hawkins was getting in good areas. Elliot Nevitt was unlucky with a couple of efforts that were blocked second period. We've already mentioned Jimmy J Morgan's effort first half that extended Martial. As an attacking threat, Crewe were absolutely non-existent second half. They sort of, certainly after the red card, said, right, we're settled for the point, but I didn't think they offered anything in particular before that. So, as my headline said on the Matchday Live that I posted on social media, everything but the goal. And it was a goal that I felt we deserved Saturday afternoon. We were the better side. We were the ones that bossed territory. We certainly bossed possession in that second period. After each side had felt themselves out a little bit, you know, it's like an old saying, isn't it? Like two boxers. People were just trying to sort of get their territory first period. And then the second half, you think that's where the game comes to life. And we were the ones that were doing all the running. We were the ones that were making all the positive steps. And on another day, we claimed 3 points, deservedly so. And it's frustrating because it feels like 2 winning draws against Walsall on Tuesday night and then Crewe at home on Saturday afternoon. And we could easily be sitting here with 4 more points. I don't like talking about referees too much because they wind me up, but we've had a stonewall penalty that's not been given against the Stadlers Tuesday evening. That wins us the game. We've had 1 off the line in that game as well. And then today, we've had 2, I think, fairly good shouts for spot kicks. We don't get either. We've had a goal harshly disallowed. The crossbar's denied us twice. The keeper does his job. You can't say anything against that. That's what he's there for, Philippe Martial. But it just adds to the frustration, doesn't it? But I thought in terms of the performance and the application and the dedication and the work rate and everything else that came with the performance, we were absolutely spot on and couldn't have done any more. We just needed a little bit of rub of the green, and we didn't get it, did we, unfortunately? I thought John Coleman was very brave with his substitutions. I was pleased that he didn't make changes to the starting 11, apart from the enforced one, which saw Joe Bode have to drop out the squad entirely, because I thought to a man they were brilliant on Tuesday evening. And I mentioned in the review after that game that I've been critical of people like Jack Nolan and Romeo Hutton in recent weeks and months. I thought they've both been really good in these last 2 games. Probably had to do a bit more defensive work, Hutton on Tuesday, which is sometimes where I think he lets himself down a little bit. But I thought Saturday afternoon he was able to play sort of 20 yards higher up the pitch, especially second period, because Crewe had no intent of trying to win the football match, in my opinion. And he got into some really good areas. Like I say, he could have had an assist if Armani Little's effort goes in first half. Jack came on. I think his first 2 crosses were absolutely superb. Again, another one who could have an assist with a bit of luck. Dacky, Hawks have had impacts, haven't they, as well? Jaden Clark's bright, does his defensive duty as well on the odd occasion that they tried to turn us round in that final period of the game. So you can't fault anyone. You can't fault John Coleman. He's been brave, taken off 2 defenders at wing back and put on essentially what are wingers, or in Jaden Clark's case, sometimes this season, centre forward position he's played, and he's our top scorer. So any side that ends the 90 minutes with Jaden Clark, Jack Nolan, Bradley Dack, Elliot Nevitt and Ollie Hawkins on the pitch is clearly going for the win and isn't settling for a 0-0 draw. But there's 2 people I really want to talk about, and I thought they were absolutely immaculate alongside the senior centre-back, which is Max Emer, who was very solid himself again yesterday afternoon. I thought Andy Smith and Sam Gale were absolutely outstanding. And what we can do with this system is that we can allow one of these centre-backs to be brave and step into midfield, because you've got the security of an extra one, haven't you? So when Smith did it, Gale and Emer become your 2, and then you've got your 2 wing-backs just drop in and become orthodox full-backs. We know Max isn't going to be the one that does that too much. That's not his game. But what he does in that system is he allows those that want to do it and feel more comfortable doing it to do it. And I thought Sam Gale and Andy Smith both did it really well, particularly in that second period. And it gives us that option to create overloads, doesn't it? And even more so against the 10 men. And on another day, we're sitting here saying that Sam Gale's won us a football match, or even Andy Smith, he's had one cleared off the line via the crossbar. Sam's hit the crossbar, he's had one saved. And the reaction at the end of the game was absolutely brilliant. And that's what we need more of. It felt like a together football club in that Priestfield Stadium at the end of the game, even though we'd not managed to claim 3 points. And we need to do that. We need it to be little old Gillingham against the world, don't we? Us against the world. Us and them, in terms of us, the fans, and them, the players, against everybody else. And I think we got a bit of that back. So credit the players and credit the management team. And if we are looking for positives, that's only 2 defeats in 6 games under Cole. And I know there's no win yet, but we have played some good sides in that run. If you think Doncaster are in and around the top 3, Notts County are in and around the top 3, and we've only lost by 1 goal to each of them. We've taken really good points against Walsall and Crewe in the last 2 games. Grimsby, on another day, if Sam Gale doesn't cramp up in injury time and we have to make a change, we've won that one. I think the most disappointing performance was obviously Tranmere, because they're a really poor side and we made them look decent. But no, it's another small step in the right direction, and it is still a case of walking before we run and not getting too ahead of ourselves. But it's 2 good points in consecutive games. It's 2 good performances, and it means we can head to Carlisle, the division's basement side, next Saturday with a bit more confidence. And I think we can beat them if we carry on in the same vein that we've shown over the last 2 football matches before we return home for back-to-back home games. Frustrating, proud, and more importantly, just pleased with what we've seen in terms of the basics and the application and the level of every single player in the last 2 games. As always, appreciate you watching, appreciate you listening. Please continue to hit that like button, and please continue to press subscribe as we sneak our way up to 3,600 subscribers. Shall return Wednesday evening with a preview ahead of Carlisle United, which is another big game next Saturday and another long away trip. Only them proper fans will be going up there, won't they? Until then, though, appreciate all that you do, all your support, all your sharing, all your interactions. And until next time, up the Gills.